as the protests in Amsterdam are becoming increasingly more aggressive. The Dutch police outside the university bring out these basket shields and their riot dog. And as the protesters climb on the police tractor trying to defend their barricade outside the school, they seem ultimately unsuccessful in stopping the bulldozer from clearing out their mess. As these efforts went well into the evening, but the police eventually went right through their blockade of trash. And quickly toppled their tents for justice. Now, the media criticized the heavy-handedness of the Dutch police dismantling the activist encampments, but when you compare that to what's happening all across the US and colleges everywhere, it becomes clear as to why you don't want to simply surrender the school to those who would destroy it. As eventually the citizens begin to step up, causing physical confrontations that don't even need to be taking place in countries oceans away from the original conflict. So as aggressive as the police in Amsterdam were, I completely understand why the Dutch would be so heavy-handed with their dismantling of the protests, because we very quickly forget the symbolism of activists taking over our schools. Not random roads, government buildings, but our institutions that are there to educate our youth on how to become a positive contribution to society. And instead of learning skills to improve their earning potential, they're being taught to block libraries and graduation ceremonies for justice. And imagine paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for a diploma that provides you nearly zero real career opportunities. Meanwhile, the cash you have left is increasingly losing its value. That's why it's great we have the sponsor for today's video, Upside. You don't have to have me tell you how insanely expensive everything is getting, especially when we're talking about food and gas prices. And it's not like you can suddenly stop eating or going to work or school. But with the free Upside app, you can get actual cash back whenever you purchase the stuff you were already buying, like gas and groceries. And it's actual cash back. No points, rewards, or confusing credit redemption systems. It's actual money you can transfer right into your bank account, which is amazing for me, as I use the app to see what restaurants were around me, and found that many places I've already been eating at were actually offering cash back with the Upside app. So I simply had to follow a few steps in the app to claim the offer, and just like that, I'm earning cash back on purchases I was already making, and top Upside earners are making as much as $300 a month. So to find out how much you can earn, click the link in the description to download Upside and use my promo code DECOY and get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Now, it would be unfair to say all the activists are destroying their schools, but I would say that none of the activists are actually helping their cause, unless it's not about stopping a war, but turning their campus into a kindergarten extension center.
Up, up with liberation, down, down with occupation. Nice, good job everyone, slay!
That quickly spirals out of control on campuses like UCLA, and even when they're arrested, they're immediately released to come back and plot their next encampment.
This was certainly not over, and proof of that is, take a look behind me. What we're starting to see is that people that were part of this encampment have begun returning, but the first thing they yelled when they came back is, "This is not over."
But this time, with fight training.
Going out the way we came in.
At the same time, though, we are also covering our most vital organs in our
Towards the
body.
entrance.
At your temples, your elbows will be tucked in at your wrists.
Yeah, right.
And they weren't the only ones, as apparently across the country at Emory University, they're also teaching military tactics that they apparently learned in summer camp, which seem useless. But looking at how fast the sheriffs at UCSD fell, apparently these white picket fence tactics are actually working. So as the police, sheriffs, and state troopers in America seemingly retreat from these activist hordes, who exactly are they training to fight on these college campuses? Because it's not like our coppers seem willing or able to do what the Dutch did in Amsterdam with their bulldozers and attack dogs. So who is gonna step up on behalf of America? I actually think it's the frat bros. As we covered last week how the fraternity from UNC faced off with the activists over our flag, they actually raised over $500,000 to throw themselves a party. So now, all across the country, groups of red-blooded men are taking to universities to also show their love for America. And remind these activists their movement doesn't mean anything to college kids when they don't have any national championships to their name.
Zero national championships! Zero SEC championships! Zero!
Now obviously that doesn't really affect them, but I think it does make a good point on how useless these demonstrations are turning out to be, as no matter how many graduations they cancel, libraries they destroy, or frats they fight and ultimately lose to, it's never going to stop a war on the other side of the ocean, because it even looks like we stopped sending missiles to at least one side, and the land invasion is still well underway. So even though I think their movement is useless, doesn't mean I don't believe in your right to peacefully protest and have your voice be heard. I just wish they would do it in a way that didn't impact everybody else that wants nothing to do with you, as I actually agree with the pupils from Princeton and their hunger strike.
Any people of conscience in the Princeton community, students, faculty, alumni, to participate with the striking students in a solidarity fast.
We really appreciate all the support the community has been showing us in our hunger strike. It's been incredible. We have people regularly checking our vitals. We have people, constantly worried about us setting up,
Now, although self-inflicted, they seem very upset at how they're being treated by their own actions.
My peers and I, we are starving. We are physically exhausted. I am quite literally shaking right now, as you can see. We are both cold and hot at the same time. We are all immunocompromised.
But as always, they'll play the victim.
They are not monitoring our health. They are not keeping track of our vitals. They are not at all taking care of us in any regard.
And that's why I call this toddler politics. Because a hunger strike is pretty much the same as a kid in a toy store. If you don't give me the thing I want, I'm gonna hold my breath. And if I pass out, it's your fault. But even worse, these kids aren't toddlers. They're actually not even kids, but able-bodied adults. Just like how I criticize these similarly aged oil activists, blocking commuters, destroying paintings, and annoying politicians. They're also always demanding the adults in the room take care of the issues they're so riled up at. Meanwhile, they are also adults. Very capable of getting science and engineering degrees to actually find solutions to their cause, or in the case of these college protesters, they could create a voting bloc, run for office, or at the very least stop voting for politicians that enact policies against their best interests. Or better yet, since they seem to be so interested in fighting, why don't they join the military force that can actually stop the one that they believe is so incredibly evil? Because if they're truly doing these horrendous things to humanity, isn't it their moral obligation to do everything and anything to stop them? They got their shields, helmets, combat training, and most importantly, are of military fighting age, or is the best you can do is pin a flag to your hat and parrot some stuff you saw on social media? Because even though they're in college, I don't quite believe they're getting educated on the things that they're angry about.
Why they're protesting here today?
Because I want to see empire fall.
What empire?
From the US to Israel, the empire that's propped up by capitalism.
And
Free Palestine, free Congo, free Sudan, free Haiti, free Hawaii, free Puerto Rico, liberation for all.
As over in Canada, their college activists don't even know how to spell the movement they're marching for. And the worst part is, I think a lot of these kids are actually throwing away their lives over a movement they don't even understand. Because back in 2020, being a useful idiot was somehow rebranded as a badge of honor, where you could destroy your own city, but would be seen as stunning and brave, willing to stand up against injustice. And if you were thrown in jail, your leaders were publicly bailing you out for serving their cause. But this time around, nobody in power has your back, and are actually actively monitoring your behavior to blacklist you from ever being employed. As Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary, explains how they can be tracked and identified.
Every single image, even at night now, goes into an AI generator and will tell you who that individual is. So, here's your resume with a picture of you burning a flag. See that one? That goes in this pile over here, because I can get the same person's talent in this pile that's not burning anything. And all you need is to have your eyes exposed with a new 4K image, and for the rest of your life, you're in this pile.
And what a dystopian nightmare this is becoming. Not only that neighbors are fighting neighbors over a conflict that neither of us have any actual ability to impact, but the fact that AI is now being implemented to punish anyone that dares have a dissident opinion. I may not agree with them, I may think their unemployed behavior is nonsense, but I would be a fool to think the same weapons being used against them won't one day be used against me should I also disagree with the powers that be. Because I wholeheartedly believe this isn't some distant dystopian nightmare scenario decades away. I think that technology is already here today. And if I ever needed to apply for some security clearance or even a public-facing job, the things that I say on this channel can quickly be matched to my face, flagging my name to anyone that doesn't completely align with all my same beliefs. And if you think that's okay, I'm an independent, rational thinker that's rooted in truth who would want to blacklist me, just remember, college campuses are currently filled with kids that think this will end the war. So if you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, hopefully I've earned your subscription, then go check out my video on how California's Excalibur cop may be their only hope.